Well, hello there, everybody. What's up? Hey, good to see you on this Thursday. Cheers, everyone. Thoughts going out to the folks down there that, well, had to endure that storm, but as I'm hearing, it could have been worse. So we just send them this. Hey, it's Earth. It's what can you say? It's a unstable planet, and whether they have weaponized weather or not. Do you hear that? Whether or not. Weird things. Speaking of this, I was going through my library, and I don't know how many of you remember Stephen Quayle, but he wrote a number of really good books. Has a biblical sway to it, but this one here, The Weather Wars, yeah, that was 2012. So nothing new, right? A lot of people say that what we did in Vietnam, was um, experimenting with different things. So, yeah. So, hello, everybody. Good to see you. Papa Lai, good to see you from Nigeria, West Africa. Well, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Robert Scott, what's up? Good to see you. Chloe, hello. Lost in Space, what's up? Nothing missing, nothing broken, right? We got the favor. Scotty boy, good to see you as well. And Blue Knight Grinner, all the way from Australia. Welcome. We got a couple of other those that live in your beautiful part of the world. It's always weird, They're south, we're north. The opposites, go figure. Rick, good to see you. Hello, Deborah Sloan. Good to see you, darling. Emperor Rex, hello. Kathy Marshall. I do believe in infinite source. Yeah, I do too. I kind of think that's really what it is. I was awakened last night. Lately, it's been like this. So, it sucks because you're not getting sleep. But as I look and I remember, I thought I was awake, but it seems to be that your mind is somewhere else, right? Even when you're awake. Anyway, I was working with my energy ball, and the word came to me substance. And it's that you can call it a force, a dynamic, but out of it, reality happens. And it's odd because when I'm thinking of this word, substance, now I know this word particularly because of my indoctrination. And I know it verbatim. It's just in me. It just never goes. And, it is that, and it says specifically, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence, the title deed of the things unseen, seeing those things that be not as though they are real. Substance. And if every human being, because we all make use of this substance, it's what creates reality. And I'm convinced that there are those who seem to have no affiliation with any particular philosophy, uh, theology, but yet they seem to have a lot of knowledge of something that the common person doesn't. Understanding that forces can actually be brought into play. And for me, I started doing this years ago because of this channel. Those that have come on and that which we have studied, that, you know, and I was, and I'm still a novice, but I think I've moved beyond the neophyte stage, but um, it was very difficult at first to get this energy under control. And now it's this beautiful sphere. It's about this big. And it lights up when it seems for me, when you really start focusing an intent. And again, whoever's out there, they know we're coming. They've already met us. But substance. So that's meant for somebody. If you got some challenges, I mean, think about it. You know, substance. Wow, powerful stuff. Gilzor, good to see you. Again, Ginger, good to see that you made it through the surgery, dear. That was that your left hand, your index finger? I think it was. Hey, Scotty boy, good to see you, Millie. As I go back here and say hello to Loretta and I guess everybody else. If I haven't seen you, I'll call you out if I get out there. So, wait a minute, what happened there? Cutting all the way over there. Hello, Goddess Sabina. How are you? We can't find the truth in that book. Ain't it so? Mary Wins. Hello, darling. Good to see you off the hook. Hello. So, John Price, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah, I really enjoyed the music. Yeah, that music back in that era. Woo. Left middle finger. Interesting. So that is actually the finger that I will have operated on. Interesting. Game over. Yeah, it is game over. So getting into this, there are other channels that have some great content, as to the hidden history, the erased history, um, phantom history. I think that we could say that definitely phantom history. Now, phantom time, who knows? But there's clearly an agenda unfolding before us. It has been. And, I was going back and through my library. This is an interesting one. We covered this one called the Yellow Book. And it's specifically on how our history has been guided. The interview with an alien, Ariel. We'll go back to that. It's very interesting to reread her words. But she contends that there's some bad hombres here. They took over. Um, you can say that there is a correlation, but when you study uh, religious histories of certain religions that began to take prominence and dominance, and it could not have been from a human source. I mean, you think about Constantine and his conversion. And I was studying last night Roman history, and it was interesting because what Constantine did, and people think it was this big conversion, and he suddenly had this epiphany in his life, but he was singularly responsible for transitioning a secular ideology, a government, into a religious theology. Powerful. Because the minute Rome, that was polytheistic in their beliefs, suddenly converted to a monotheistic belief, it had shockwaves throughout the world. And I contend we're still dealing with that. And I can't help but not think that, all right, let's take another position. So let's say that Constantine did see this light in the sky, the supposed cross. Well, we know today that virtually every airplane that flies, if you see them at night, it is a cross. So what is it to say? What was what that this was Jesus? There wasn't no Jesus then. There was no Christianity then. Christianity was more pagan than it was anything else. It had sects all over, you know, and very few actually agreed. But in any case, so a human being had the insight to convert a government into a religion, and more importantly, begin to fashion and form the whole basis for the belief system. Boy, I'll tell you what. I mean, one of the last most brilliant minds that I believe of Homo sapiens sapiens had to be Alexander the Great. I mean, I'm not sure who and what that dude was, but you know, pretty impressive stuff. And to think that young Alexander, who died, you know, very young, correlating with the same as the Christ, to see how Alexander's influence is still here today, the whole Mesopotamian. So I'm leading somewhere in all this. So there is an agenda unfolding. This is old. The first good paper on this is one by Henry Kissinger. We're going to look at this because he was kind of telling what the future was. I mean, was he a wizard? Was he a warlock? Maybe. Did he have knowledge that is not accessible to everybody else? Very well, could be. So today, you and I live in an illusionary world. We think we're free, but we're really not. We think we have all this smarts because, you know, we've got all the social media platforms, and then you've got the great oracles who have now reincarnated in an ethereal form called your search engine. Search engines are actually the one thing that's dumbing us down. I mean, we now take it for granted because people don't learn anymore. Well, I can go to the internet. I can go to whatever search engine. Well, you're worshiping a deity. You're asking, think about this. You're asking an unseen force to give you answers which you think will be true to your question. Now, how is that any different from petitioning God, a demon, an angel, whatever you want to do? How is that any different? And the thing about it is that we created this and it's faster than God. We don't have to wait in an ambiguous time. We can ask this unseen entity any question, and it's immediately going to answer us. That's a powerful God. And now when you add AI into the whole equation, it even gets a little weirder because it is weirder. So Bonnie says it's faster than the Dewey Decimal System, isn't it? Hello, Esley. Good to see you. So, Jargo, good to see you. So, here we go. I'm only going to bring this up once. Got a number of questions. People want to know more about, you know, well, what is this color revolution? Well, it's unfolding right now. We're living it. And so I put this together so we could just all have a basis of understanding. Give me 1 second. There we go. So there are a number of white papers, articles written on the color revolution, and it really comes from Russia. And one of the things that I pulled from it was that, you know, doctrine is not an agenda, but agendas are driven by doctrine. Think about this. So you and I are living under the thought of someone else. We're living the reality of what they projected the future to be. So they were, in essence, using substance, calling those things that be not as though they already are. And it's really weird when you get into this. So this is from an article called The Seven Pillars of Color Revolution. It says the former ambassador to Russia under the Obama administration, Michael McFaul, came up with 7 pillars of color revolution, a list of 7 steps needed to incite the type of revolution used to upend Eastern Europe countries like Ukraine, Georgia in the past 2 decades. And we all can admit, Ukraine is another Vietnam. It's another Afghanistan. It's another Iraq. The United States has not won a war since World War II. Every conflict that we have gotten involved, we have lost, gotten our asses kicked. And it's all really weird because we'll see that this is something that has been unfolding in this country. So I said, this has been happening in the US. While you thought you had freedom, it was being taken away, slowly away, and you never noticed it as it was meant to be. You weren't, none of us were. It's the frog in the boiling pot. It's the nudge theorem. If you want to change a person, you can't change them like that. Doesn't work. But what happens is that you can nudge them just a little bit, little bit, little bit. Eventually, when they awake to what has happened to them, they're already in the trap, so to speak. So here is McFaul's 7 steps. And sound if this doesn't sound familiar. 1, semi-autocratic regime, not fully autocratic, provides opportunity to call incumbent leaders fascists, deplorable, Nazis, less than humans, liars. I've never seen a campaign. I worked on Reagan's campaign, worked for the first Bush. There was a civility. It's gone. 2, the appearance of unpopular president or incumbent leader. I mean, look at it now, how we got Trump, used to have Biden. Biden was a victim of his own party's coup. And now well, she's not the representative. She was never elected. She's never received one vote. That's my problem with Harris, is that she cheated. There was a process that we have in this country that ensures that the people's voices are heard and recognized, and that didn't happen here. 3, united and organized opposition. Antifa, BLM, you can just go on down the list. How many of you remember what was happening in 2020, 2016? Our cities were on fire. I mean, yeah. 4, effective system to convince the public well before the election of voter fraud. You know, you need to vote. It's your civic duty. We don't teach civics in school anymore, but we should. We should go back to this. If you're a citizen of the United States, you have a civic obligation. And voting is still one of those sacred rights. And don't fall victim to the fact of someone else's propaganda. Get out there and vote. That's how it's done. 5, compliant media to push voter fraud narratives. And that's the problem. I mean, you've got so much nuts going on. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not there. But what I do know is that I can still cast a vote, a ballot. And I'm not going to be driven by someone telling me that something is that I haven't actually seen. So I'll have our thing on this. 6, political opposition organization able to mobilize thousands to millions in the streets. Now, Barack Obama gave this speech in 2004. He was also recently bringing this back up. So 7, division among the military and police. Again, you don't know what to believe, but if some of the stories that are out there in the alternative media, well, yeah, we're well on our way on this one. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. This is how countries change, and countries do change. And as I said yesterday, the country that I grew up in, it was turbulent, no doubt about it. I mean, don't think that we could actually really survive. I was recalling back in the 60s, particularly the latter part of the 60s, Compton on fire. The South was on fire. I mean, I look back and I think, wow, people don't remember that. I was talking to someone and I was bringing that up, and they were born in the 90s. And that, again, they don't have any memory of that because it didn't impact them. But I often think if that would happen today, could we survive this as a nation? And you know what helped us then? Y'all know the answer. Love. It was music. I mean, I think about, you had the advent of rock and roll, but, you had in the 30s the crooners, the big bands. And when we electrified music, it opened a door to a whole new source of creativity. And that whole thing, as turbulent as the societies were, and as the idiots that were in government, and there's idiots still in government. It's amazing how we elect idiots, but we do. Um, but in the meantime, there was this abundance, this plethora of creativity, of singing. Singing is still a form of praise. That's why we like to sing. Its basis is giving praise for whatever your existence is. And, I've retold this story before, but, when I was in the state home, um, I got turned on to Motown, soul music, and I love it today. And it was that expression that there is this euphoria, this love, this sense of being united. Even though we may be polarized in so many other areas, we still have that praise, that music. Yeah. Now, some of the stuff I hear today, I don't know if it is praise, but anyway. Um, so, and I'm reading the comments in here. Y'all know how it is. So, getting back to this agenda. So, there is an agenda that is unfold. We can see it now. Maybe we can change it. Because if we know their game plan and take it seriously, excuse me, we can alter it. And I am firmly one who is, I've seen it, that if we can affect change in the astral realms, the dream state, the state of meditation, the state of when you give praise, praise puts you into a higher consciousness, opens many different doors. But if I can begin to affect change, and let's say I can have a group that where our intent is to learn, but at the same time plant that seed in that spirit realm, that seed will grow and prosper. That which is above shall be below, right? As below, so as above. Because I don't like what's coming from beneath. I mean, I just ain't digging it. And when you look at what they've done to manipulate, and I still don't know who they are, They seem to be elusive. And if it's a single entity, whoa, I mean, how do you fight against that? Uh, I'm just reading. I got carried over looking over there at the chat room. Y'all got some really good discussions. And the other day, by the way, I think someone blocked Joe Mack, and you know, he was upset about that, So let's all just remember everyone's got feelings. Hey, Lindsay, out of the false matrix. Yeah, there we go. For sure. Um, yeah, we will, Mary. I believe we're making a change now. So I have for your perusal some books in here. There's some papers that I thought we would take a look at. By the way, this is if you want to get into more of what the color revolutions are, they happen all over the world. They're happening now, and it's a very interesting read. It is. It's a short article, about 9 pages long, and it'll give you a pretty good idea. We humans are not, well, I think we have such hunger to find truth, to find unity, love, compassion, empathy. And unfortunately, we just got some bad people. I don't know if they have a soul. Question that. I believe that there are probably more soulless than there are souls. Remember, we read a number of books and articles that there's only a certain limit of souls, finite. And in fact, I think wasn't that movie, what was it, with Demi Moore, The Seventh Sign or something like that? She was carrying the last soul, the last human soul. And the prophecy is written that when the last soul exits out of the gull, that's ushers in a whole new age. Well, I don't know. I think there's some. This is one that I was making reference to. This is the Kissinger report, uh, dated December 10th, 1974. Um, has since been declassified and it's been out there a while, but it's interesting when you go back here because what this document was showing, everything that they had talked about, it's amazing to me how it's come to pass. And we're not going to get into all of it. I just want to let you know that it is out there. And if you read these things, wow, it's almost like a map. They lead you right to this whole issue. I mean, they talk about depopulation, the need for it. They talk about the fact that they knew that food, agriculture, would become a really big deal. And, if you believe the story, we've surpassed 8.2 billion. I don't know. What did they got a clicker out here? You know, reconciling the books. So you got these that are dead that fall out. Now you got these coming in. But anyway, um, all of this energy, the cost. In fact, they talk about the Green Deal in here, so it's like nothing new. Um, so as we look at all of this, supposedly there is a God in charge. Now, I don't know if this God is lazy or if this God is just too busy. I don't know what the problem is, but it's it's very obvious that if this silence is because there are things that have been prophesied that are now going to come to pass, and that's debatable because how can you take something that was spoken 3, 4,000 years ago and say that it applies today? No. But If you're manipulating history, you can make it happen. Um, we're talking about the altered idea that we've been taught that dinosaurs died out 64 million years ago. Turns out, no, they didn't. Um, and this one was really, and I love it. I've done referred to this several times, that in our literature, there are accounts filled with dragons, flying serpents, and winged lizards, who then were these flying, fire-breathing creatures that seemed to coexist with early man, sometimes as his benefactor, but many more times as his tormentor. And if you think about the narrative, you and I are cursed. There was a curse put on us through the representation of us, which I guess we're Homo sapiens or sapiens, but you and I are cursed. And we try to pretend and make believe that somehow we can make a pile of shit smell like a pile of roses. And we've convinced ourselves over thousands and thousands of years that that pile of crap does, in fact, we are convinced, smells like roses. We wouldn't know the difference. Because remember, the God of this world, if you believe in the paradigm, cursed us. He cursed the woman, he cursed the earth, then he cursed man. So any way you slice it and dice it, Charlie, we're cursed. And, got to give us credit. We've tried to make the best of it. But no matter what we do, we always miss the mark. Always. We've tried to build utopia, missed the mark. We tried to build times of paradise. We missed the mark. And it appears now that we've just given up. I had someone write me and say, you talk really bad about religion. Well, yeah, I do. It hasn't helped us at all. Someone wrote me and said, well, without religion, we wouldn't have morals. I disagree with you. A human being doesn't need a religion to establish morals. What they need is empathy. Plain and simple. So anyway, we have these stories, and the stories, even the one of the myth of that garden, were talking serpents that apparently were so freaking smart, they were smarter than God. Now, where did that go? Where did that creature go? I mean, oh, well, it said that he was cursed, or it was cursed as well. So here we are on our little island, thinking that we have this whole big continent, and we don't realize we're all cursed. Scary thought, isn't it? So, and this one here, I always love this because it brings into the whole thing. It says the earliest and most important of the cultures, that of Mesopotamia, Alexander the Great, right, was probably founded by these serpent-like gods. The colonization of this planet by these creatures is described in one of the most dramatic and significant of the account ancient documents. It is the so-called Sumerian king list, dated to the 3rd millennium BC. That was before the Hebrews, their religion or anything. This document provides a succession of the kings of Sumer and their successors, the length of their reign since, which was the Sumerians, the beginning of time, when their ancestors came here and descended to earth to establish a number of cities on the alluvial plain of Mesopotamia, calling themselves the Anunnaki. Now, if this is actual history, which I contend it is, now, the intellectual and academic world and the theologians as well, they don't like this. Governments don't like this because if this, in fact, is what history really was, then you can see how they have altered the narrative, and so much so that now we think that this is a myth. And we're told that the myth is actually reality, the truth. So what are they afraid of? Altering history, phantom time, making us thinking, no matter how much of the hidden history we find, it doesn't do us any good if it doesn't become widespread. That's the only way the spell is going to be broken. So the Sumerians say a whole different story. And I'll tell you, I was recently had someone, ask me, they said, well, you seem to have this great knowledge of the Bible. Guy wrote me, he says, you're like a freaking walking Bible. He said, I don't know how you do it. Well, it's decades. But he was coming to me and he says, I had never considered this character, Abram, who would have known Enki and Enlil and all the associate, would have known about the Anunnaki. And yet, he abandons that knowledge for something of a creature, an entity, a deity that he never knew. Now, when you think on that level, that becomes ridiculous to the cognitive mind, reasoning, going, well, that doesn't make any sense. And if there's even a basis of truth within that narrative, then this so-called God of the Bible, of the world, of all the religions, right? Well, he's either an imposter or something else much more nefarious is going on. I mean, could it be that the Christian God is really Enki? It's the same with the Hebrew God, the Muslim God. The Hindus, I think, had it right. They knew there was a whole bunch of gods. I don't know. So anyway, we'll get into this in another time because it's again, as you get further into this, you really find out that they have rewritten history. And one of those is, we talked about this, did a whole bunch of shows, are the Tartarians. I mean, they erased them from history. This is a great book on, I have in digital file. If you're really into this, then you really should get this. This is a great book. It is the colorized PDF version of this. And again, it gets into what the hell happened. My wife and I were talking about this at dinner last night, and I said, we know the mud floods happened, but yet they've been erased from history. Now, we can find references to it, but, the so-called academics, they never say who these academics are. They never say who the intellectuals are. Are they a collective? That sounds like a hive. If they're individuals, well, where did they ascertain such their great knowledge that would refute this? We know that the numbers don't make sense. We have pictures from the 1800s. Something's wrong. Where did all the people go? There's something wrong now. Recently read the numbers from our own government that something ain't right. There seems to be a lot of people missing. And I mean a lot of people missing. But when you get into the history, you're finding out something else took place. In fact, I want to get into this little point. Give me 1 second on the mud floods, because, okay, so we know, um, give me a chance. And this is a great, if you don't have the book, I have the book as well. But all through the cities, half floors, we were discussing this. We've seen this. Lynn and I we love architecture. And when I used to travel as much as I do, I'm glad I don't, but we would go and purposely look at these, and they're everywhere. Evidence of some sort of catastrophe that seems to be completely missing. And it's not just in the United States, it's in other parts of the world. Something, there was a mini cataclysm. I don't know. Again, we read where Flamenco was showing that these pyramids, the Sphinx, signs of water. That's water damage. That's not sand. That's water damage. And it was apparently salt water. And I just want to read a little bit of this, because this is part of this manipulation of history, of time. It says, but now that we've been introduced to the concept of the traveling empire of the Tartars, or the Tatars, or the original spelling, Tatars, I like that, and the possibility they left beautiful cities in their wake, perhaps these legends can be re-examined. We can also ask ourselves, what happened to the sophisticated society of the Hyperborea that existed until the mid-1500s, according to Mercator's map? We have all heard the legends about the 7 cities of gold. Even the Long Ranger and Tonto had them woven into their stories. The story we have been taught, by the way, you could never be playing the Lone Ranger today, the one that we grew up on, be considered racist. Yeah. The stories we have been taught is that the tricky natives lured the Spanish invaders from their lands in Florida by telling them that the west beyond the Great River, which eventually became the Mississippi, that they would discover vast, elegant empires with citizens indulging in refined lifestyles and so much wealth that even their most basic objects were crafted of gold and jewels. I mean, again, these pictures are fascinating. Something happened. And we all know that something happened in the Grand Canyon. There's places you can't access. This is one that always has got me. So, where did all that mud come from? And once you get into this and study this, it's like, okay, what's up? Mysterious and strange, these ancient cities and buildings have survived possibly centuries, protected by water, deeply hidden for some over 100 feet below sea level in the abyss because of the natural phenomenon that they have been fundamentally discovered for archaeologists, and they confirmed a lot of the myths and legends. Cleopatra's Palace in Alexandria, discovered in 1998, is one of the most important findings about ancient Egyptian civilization, containing a lot of daily life objects and impressive and unique sculptures. Mysterious pyramids of the Yongjin Jima in Japan, the beauty city of the Qingdao, China, and the amazing archaeological park of Viale in Italy. This city literally collapsed underwater, allegedly because of the volcanic earthquake. These pictures are as mysterious and poetic, offering a view on a completely unknown world, unknown to most of the modern world. So, the question always becomes, well, what happened to the modern world? I mean, it's like we had to rewrite history in order for us to believe that we have this long standing. I don't believe we do. Um, I would, the bust and the statues. I mean, there's just when you look at these pictures, you're going, well, they don't teach that in school. And if this is recent, think about it. Recent, um, within 1,000 years, maybe less. It tells me it can happen again just as quickly. The Great Reset of 1811 to 1812. From December 16th, 1811 through March of 1812, there were over 2,000 earthquakes in the central Midwest and between 6,000 and 10,000 earthquakes in the Boot Hill of Missouri, where the New Madrid is located near the junction of the Ohio-Mississippi rivers. In the known history of the world, no other earthquakes have lasted so long and resulted in so much damage as the New Madrid earthquakes. The sequence of three main shocks in 1811 through 1812 of the three very large earthquakes is usually referred to as the New Madrid earthquakes after the Missouri town that was the largest settlement on the Mississippi River between St. Louis and Natchez, Mississippi. On the basis of the large area of damage, 600,000 square kilometers, the widespread area of precipitability, 5 million square kilometers, and the complex physiographic changes that occurred, the New Madrid earthquake of 1811 and 1812 ranks as some of the largest in the United States since its settlement by Europeans. Now, I find this interesting because where I live is in Missouri, and they're now, you hear on the radio and you hear on television them telling people that there's going to be an earthquake. They don't say if, they just say when. During these series of earthquakes, the Mississippi River flowed backwards. Some of the stories of the riverboat captains seeing huge trees, oak trees, being shot straight up into the air. Yeah, but you don't read about this. It's not taught. There were by far the largest east of the Rocky Mountains in the U.S. and Canada. The area of strong shaking associated with these shocks is 2 to 3 times as large as that of the 1964 Alaskan earthquake and 10 times as large as that of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. You would think something of that magnitude would be firmly planted into people's minds. It's been wiped out. I would lay you $100 bet that you could go out in any of the cities along the Mississippi and ask the average person on the street about these events. Did they know about these events? And I believe 100% of them would say, had no idea. So this one gets into how bad this was. The New Madrid earthquakes were felt as far away as Canada and the eastern seaboard. The tremors caused church bells to ring in Boston and Philadelphia. The Earth's surface maintained in a state of constant motion for nearly 4 months. You would think that this would be firmly ingrained in every child in elementary school all the way through high school. You think that the communities here would keep this in mind? No. Several towns were destroyed. An 18 by 5 mile lake was created, Reelfoot Lake in Tennessee. The earthquakes felt strongly across 130,000 square miles and moderately for a total of nearly 3 million miles. The effect was devastating and widespread. The upheaval was so violent it created Reelfoot Lake 15 miles south of the New Madrid and drowned the inhabitants of an entire Indian village along the Mississippi River. The river amazingly ran backwards for several hours, which may have been the tsunami-like event exacerbated by the eruption of groundwater for miles along the shore, which caused a rapid rise of the water level in the riverbeds. So the earthquakes were felt as far away as the White House, and it is said that church bells in Boston rang on their own. Shortly before the first earthquake, people reported strange behavior by animals. Many animals were nervous and frightened. Domestic animals became wild, and wild animals became tame. Snakes came out of the ground from hibernation. Flocks of ducks and geese landed near people. In 1811, a great bright comet appeared in the sky. It was visible to the naked eye for around 260 days. That's a big comet, folks. In the U.S., the comet was named the Tecumseh Comet, and the Europeans called it Napoleon's Comet. The last time the comet had been witnessed was during the reign of the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II, 3,065 years before. The arrival of the Tecumseh Comet was followed by the New Madrid earthquakes, the biggest earthquakes in American history, events that are linked to the Black Sun prophecy. The Tecumseh was an important Native American mystic, warrior, and military leader of the Shawnee. He is told today remembered as a great hero who fought for freedom. His name ominously meant shooting star, or he who walks across the sky. Tecumseh's brother, who was a religious leader known as the Prophet, had predicted a solar eclipse in 1806. William Henry Harrison, governor of Indiana, was worried the prophet was becoming too popular and challenged him to produce a miracle. The prophet announced another solar eclipse occurred, and so it did on September 17th, 1811. And as you go further into this book, I got to look at my time. Yeah. So if this event happened, and most people have no idea about it, have no recollection of any of the phenomenon that, could you imagine? Ginger, I know you live over there in the state of Indiana along with Grandpa Brian. Could you imagine the land between here, Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, Ohio, undulating? Wow. But that's what it did. Um, we'll get into some more of this uh, because it's quite fascinating. And as I see that my time is winding down, I still had another that we were going to get, historical amnesia. This one again, picking up where we left off yesterday. This one, you just go, I mean, it's book, article after book that becomes very apparent that we're so manipulated. We think we're so smart, but we're really dumb. This one here is an overview of the much larger book I introduced everyone to yesterday, and we're going to get into this some more because we're in for, I mean, if you read everything, it's like it could happen at any time. And finally, I wanted to get into, we'll probably get into this next week, the parallel worlds that we have been studying all along. So, Shirley said, amnesia would be grace at this point. Isn't it true? But it's still fascinating when you look at this and to realize that, wow, we are so, and you look at our government. I mean, they supposedly have think tanks, right? They got all these people in there that all they do is waste our money, but they don't care because we're already slaves. But anyway, so if they know this, everyone looks at the San Andreas Fault in California. The real big worry is the one right here in the Midwest, right here in the middle of the United States. If that sucker rips, it's a bad day for the whole country. California can go off into the sea and most of us wouldn't miss it. Um, well, that's what day after tomorrow was. It was 2012 that they actually showed it. It's going down there. Anyway, controllers, not government. Yeah, it's probably a same thing, synonymous with one another. Dr. Hugh, if we're all bricks in the wall, but the mud flood knocked us all down, the wall is useless and the enemy has already gotten in. Good metaphor. I could see that. But it happened. That's the weird thing about it. And yet it's being erased. The Tartarians. I mean, I did a several show what they built. No one hears about them. I love doing it when we are out with people, bringing up little tidbits like that. Because you live people like, you know, where'd you hear that at? It always keeps the conversation lively. But anyway, hey, Paul Joe, I think there has been and continued to be an effort to create cognitive dissonance as a means of control. I would not argue with that at all. Michelle, what's that? It's true. So, anyway, folks, hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to try to be on tomorrow. I may not. Winter is coming, and I've got things I've got to do on the old homestead. I mean, my freaking list is like that long. I've got a 30-foot tree out there that needs to be cut up, chopped up, and put out and ready, for wintertime. And boy, ain't that going to be. Hello, Julie. How you doing, Jules? The golden age of abracadabra. Speak spirit ruler. I like that. Lindsay, what's up? So, what do you do with this? I mean, again, Lynn and I were talking at dinner, and it's like, so you know this stuff, all right? But what do you do with it? It's like I told her, I said, well, what we do is that we live every moment that we can. We appreciate that which we have, and you can do your best in planning, but just be realizing that it came suddenly upon others, and that's probably how it's going to happen to us. Like that. We think we're so smart, so sophisticated. Yeah, what happens when the technology goes down, right? Stephanie Marie, thank you so much. Well, thank you, sweetie. That's very kind of you. Uh, Jules the Alchemist. It's true. It's early down there, girl. Uh, Manifest abundance. That's true. All right. If I don't see everyone tomorrow, then I'll see you Monday. Get together with the expedition group on Sunday. Looking forward to this. Been reading we've got this thread going on in the dreams. Yeah. Your young men shall dream dreams, and your old men shall have visions. Or is it the other way? Your old men will dream dreams, and young men have visions, I think. Yeah. But anyway, knowing helps to reduce fear. Yes, 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 it's true. It's like, okay. Um, and some are even told that they are. I often wonder about that because, for the longest time, I thought I had Willy Wonka's golden ticket. And because, I was born again, spirit filled by the blood of Jesus, washed of my sins, and my name was written in the Lamb's book of life. And then I suddenly realized, well, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I mean, do you really want to be a part of a club that, there's going to be just a finite of people? And do you really want to get the thought that, the vast majority, if you go by the doctrine, are screwed? Nah. No, I'm going over with the ones that are screwed because they know how to hang out. They know how to party. And yeah. So anyway. Loretta says, lambs get eaten. Well, that's the whole thing what a shepherd does, isn't it? That shepherd ain't there to protect you. That shepherd's there to eat you. So that totally sucks, you know? And then, and I hear it all the time, people say, Jesus sees you as his precious child. But then Paul writes that when I was a child, I thought as a child, and when I became a man, I began to think as a man, put away childish things. So, how can I have a Jesus, a shepherd, a Christ who looks at me as a child, but I have his representative telling me I need to put away childish things and think as a man, as an adult? I mean, how do you reconcile that? If anyone would like to comment on it, I'd love to hear. Consciously Aware says we're all chosen to live the exact lives that we live the lives that no one else can live. I mean, you're only one living it. Yeah, anyway, Chloe says, Papa Black Sheep. I mean, I'm just saying for a friend. I mean, what's up with that, you know? And you know, it's one of those things that you could probably you were ever into the bar scene could probably drink for the rest of your life because no one could probably reconcile it. How do you be as a child? And it says you have to be as a child before you can enter into the gates of heaven. But yet I'm told to be a man and to think like a man and think like an adult. Is anyone else confused? I don't know. So anyway, Mary Wilson, men love sheep. Yeah, I think that's where syphilis came from, isn't it? I think so. Uh, Lindsay says, I'm very much aware of religious teaching. I have a pastor dad. Yeah, yeah. So Lindsay, how would you reconcile that one? I mean, it's like, okay, so I'm supposed to be like a child, you know, anyway. Uh, well, Chloe, yes, you do. Laughter doeth the heart is a good medicine, right? Yeah. Consciously said, I would rather be like a child. See? Yeah. All right, everybody. Shirley says, yes, it's a sick bear. It is. Well, have a good one. Like I said, I will try to get here tomorrow. If I'm not, well, just party on and be good to yourselves. I appreciate all of you. And Scotty Boy says, I am a child and I refuse to grow up. You know, Scotty Boy, I suddenly realized a while back, what does it mean to be grown up? What does it mean to be an adult? I mean, I, am still trying to figure this out. Someone says to act your age. Well, how do you act on that? And if you're acting, then you're pretending, right? So if I'm pretending, why would I want to pretend to be old? Wouldn't it probably be more advantageous if I wanted to be pretending to be a child? Just, you know, talking among friends. Hey, Robert V, how you doing? Make sure to check out Robert and his show on Saturday nights, and I think you're with Nina there on Sunday as well. All right, hey, Caesar Q, what's up? Good to see you, girl. And all right, I always like these deep thoughts before we're going. You know, it's like, well, let's reconcile the conflict here. How does that work? Jargo, good to see you. So, love one, as Mary Wins always says, off the hook. I don't want to grow up. I am the Toys R Us kid. That's what I'm talking about. Ginger said it means to kill a vital life giving part of yourself to be an adult. Yeah, yeah. There we go. And we do send healing and light to all the folks down there in Florida and North Carolina and the rest of them. So, all right, folks. Scotty Boy, that's a whole new can of worms. Ain't it so? There's a device sending back data to the fifth point in time. Yeah, I've also heard that when we exploded all those bombs in the atmosphere, it seems like we screwed up more than what we realized. This is not the right time. Boy, I've really gone over. All right. Much love, everyone. See you again very